Well, good afternoon. When it comes to protecting our communities, protecting our most vulnerable, when it comes to protecting our young from criminals, this government will never waver. And the team you see here today, they're leading the charge. These criminals seek to do our children harm. They recruit them to gangs and force them into human trafficking. These criminals are finding their victims right here in our backyard. The average age of recruitment for sex trafficking is just 13 years old. These people, their organizations, they're a cancer in our communities that must be stopped and dismantled for good. And I can tell these criminals, we're coming for you. And I want these criminals to face the justice they deserve so they can never hurt another child ever again. That's why I appointed Solicitor General Sylvia Jones and Minister Jill Dunlop as our government's co-leads to work on this important issue. And they're supported by our Attorney General, Doug Downey. In March, we launched a new comprehensive anti-human trafficking strategy to protect Ontario's children and young women. We committed $307 million over the next 5 years to raise awareness, to protect victims, to intervene earlier, and support survivors, to stop these predators and bring them to justice. And we're just getting the results. Barrie Police arrested 3 men in March and laid 52 charges for sexual exploitation. The Toronto Police Services arrested 10 men in June in another human trafficking investigation. In July, the OPP dismantled a criminal organization involved in the sex trade ring affecting 9 communities. I have to thank our brave men and women in uniform for bringing these thugs to justice and helping these victims escape a living nightmare. And today, I'm proud to announce we're investing over $7 million over 5 years to support human trafficking victims and survivors and help them get back on their feet. This funding will provide them with meals, accommodation, transportation, dental care, and cell phones. It will also help survivors rebuild their lives. We're going to keep looking at ways to intervene earlier and stop this terrible crime from happening in the first place. As I've said before, we're putting the sex traffickers on notice. We're coming for them. We're giving our police the tools and resources they need to go after those who prey on our most vulnerable. And we're looking at all available legislative tools, and we will have a further update later this fall. I also want to call on the federal government to do more on bail reform and other areas of the justice system. We need to ensure these criminals don't go free on bail. We all have a role to play in protecting our children. Our government is going to keep fighting for our kids and ensure each and every one has the opportunity to reach their full potential and achieve their goals. Thank you, and God bless the people of Ontario. Now I'll hand it over to our Attorney General.
Thank you, Premier, and I want to thank you for supporting victims and survivors of human trafficking and for ensuring our provincial strategy to fight this heinous crime resonates in every community across Ontario. I also want to recognize the leadership of our provincial anti-human trafficking strategy co-leads, Solicitor General Jones and Associate Minister Dunlop. As the Premier mentioned, the Ministry of the Attorney General's investment of $7.65 million over 5 years will ensure survivors can access the services they need to rebuild their lives. These funds will expand assistance available to human trafficking victims for accommodations, dental care, transportation, mobile phones, and for court-related expenses. The investment also provides additional funding to Victims Crisis Assistance Ontario providers to do more of their vital work in support of human trafficking victims. Earlier this summer, the legislature passed the Smarter and Stronger Justice Act, legislation that will make it harder for criminals to hold on to the dirty profits of crimes like human trafficking. It makes it possible for survivors of human trafficking to access compensation and helps police target human trafficking networks. The investments we are announcing today to support frontline victim services across Ontario also build on emergency payments our government made to ensure victim supports were accessible, responsive, and resilient during the COVID-19 emergency and recovery. Those payments included $2.7 million to support victim services and Indigenous justice program providers, and $1.5 million to support partner assault response programs that protect victims of intimate partner violence and hold offenders accountable. Human trafficking is a complex and growing crime that we will only be able to root out of our communities by working together with police, prosecutors, victim services, and community partners. And I look forward to hearing more from Solicitor General Jones and Associate Minister Dunlop on our strategy to put an end to the devastating impacts of human trafficking in Ontario. Thank you. I'll now pass it over to Solicitor General Jones.
Thank you, Attorney General Downey. Human trafficking is a vicious and violent crime that targets women and young girls. In addition to its devastating impact on victims, criminal networks are profiting from the exploitation of our young and vulnerable people who simply don't have the knowledge and tools needed to stay safe from this growing and complex threat. We are here today to change that. I applaud the energy and focus our Premier has invested in mobilizing our government to urgently take on this crisis from all angles. And as someone engaged with justice partners on the important matters of bringing offenders to justice and standing up for victims of crime as heinous as human trafficking, I'm encouraged by the actions we have announced here today. This is a needed investment that will expand services and supports available to victims and survivors of human trafficking. These crimes often span across multiple municipal boundaries as traffickers move their victims, often young women and girls and boys, from one community to another in an attempt to evade police detection. That is why, through our comprehensive anti-human trafficking strategy, we have worked with law enforcement, prosecutors, victim support providers, community partners, and across government to take action that cracks down on criminals and to reclaim our communities. As mentioned by Premier Ford, our government also recently announced $6 million through the Proceeds of Crime Grant Frontline Policing Grants to implement 21 initiatives across Ontario to help combat gun and gang violence, sexual violence and harassment, and human trafficking. Today, we continue to amplify our message to criminals. If you target our children in communities across Ontario, we will find you, charge you, and shut you down. Before I pass it over to Minister Dunlop, I want to share the number for the Canadian Human Trafficking Hotline, which is 1-833-900-1010. This is a service available to anyone who has been impacted by human trafficking, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Again, if you have been affected by human trafficking, please call this number or your local police service. Thank you. I'll now pass it over to Associate Minister of Children and Women's Issues, Jill Dunlop.
Thank you. I'm pleased to be here today for this important announcement with the Premier and my amazing colleagues to help support victims of human trafficking. Today's announcement is about ensuring those who have been trafficked get the best care to heal. We want to support them with trauma-informed services so that they can move forward into new lives. By supporting victims, we will build a bridge and be more effective prosecutions and increased convictions. Supporting victims is just one of several tools in our government's 5-year, $307 million strategy to fight human trafficking and end child sexual exploitation, which we announced in March. I want to thank our police officers who are taking down these trafficking rings, and I want to thank victim services, sexual assault centers, shelters, and the countless other organizations who are supporting victims and survivors. Your compassion, your ability to listen, and your heart is what is helping turn victims into survivors. You are all heroes who are doing incredible work to provide trauma-informed and culturally specific care. I am pleased that we are able to further support you and work with you to provide real solutions, real care for those impacted, which are often young girls and boys. Finally, I just want to remind Ontarians to stay vigilant and be aware. Parents don't think it can happen in their own communities or to their own kids. Young people don't think it can happen to them or to their friends. But as the Premier said, human trafficking can and does happen right in our own backyards. Sex trafficking is a nightmare existence for those caught in this awful criminal activity, including young girls and boys and their families. Let's raise awareness, call it out, and protect each other from this horrific crime. Thank you.
Go to the phone line for questions. Just a reminder, one question, one follow-up. We'll go to the first question, please.
First question comes from Chris Rushawi from Toronto Star. Please go ahead.
Hi, Chris.
Oh, hi there. Good afternoon. My questions are actually for Minister Lecce. Minister, you said that you wanted high school students to be in school with in-person instruction for at least 50% of the time. I think only a few boards have been able to achieve that, and some are nowhere near that. York Board in particular, which is in your riding, is at about 22 to 25%. And I'm just wondering, is that acceptable to you? I mean, shouldn't all boards be as close to 50% as possible, as you said you expected?
Yeah, our request of school boards across the province is, of course, to make sure we maximize in-class instruction, meaning that a child is in their classroom, in their seat, led by a teacher. In the case of York Public and York Catholic, they have worked with the ministry. We have spent many hours with them over the past week, literally hundreds of hours, working intimately with school boards to ensure that that percentage of in-class facing time with educators has moved up. As a consequence of the province's intervention, we're able to ensure a child could be learning in class in York, for example, for roughly 50% of the time. 150 minutes of the 300 minutes in a day will be provided in-class instruction, and the remainder will be done through synchronous online learning, still meaning Zoom-style learning, so the children are able to learn live from their teacher. That is a material improvement from the plans that were sent to us some days and weeks ago. And my obligation as minister, of course, is to ensure that every child is safe. That's the foremost responsibility of the government, but it's also to ensure quality learning. And that's why we've spent a lot of time over the past days really pushing the school boards collaboratively and constructively to move that number up, to maximize learning, because I think children and parents really want their children to have the best learning experience positive as possible, given what the challenges we faced last year.
Follow up?
So how did the York Board get to 50% then? I mean, are they including the study hall model? Because my understanding is that study hall is voluntary and it's not actually in-class instruction. So, and I'm just wondering for other boards as well that are nowhere near 50%. I mean, why not get all boards to 50% if it's doable in boards like Toronto or York?
Yeah, that is the aspiration. We've been very clear on our aim, which is to maximize learning in schools, providing school boards with the latitude to stagger their starts, with the funding resources to make sure it is safe. And that's why over the past week, we've spent many hours with all school boards to ensure we increase that amount of time in class led by their teacher. In fact, in various school boards across the province, you could point to incremental improvements. And so we're continuing to work with those school boards, particularly those outstanding boards, to get those numbers up and to ensure that parents' voices are heard when it comes to maximizing in-class learning. Keep in mind, though, the benefit of, in York's case, for example, is, in high school, like in Toronto, they'd be capped at 15 students. They would be cohorted. And the cohorting model is really essential to minimizing contact with other students, but also ensuring the integrity of our contact tracing system and management system to make sure that children are safe in a school no matter what challenges could arise in the coming weeks. So that is the benefit of the cohort. Students are getting a maximum amount of time, yes, using a study hall model, which we created in the ministry, to make sure that a student can be in their schools for as much of the day as humanly possible. We want to make sure learning is strong in quality and consistent province-wide.
Next question.
Next question comes from Lucas Meyer from News Talk 1010. Please go ahead.
Hi, Lucas.
Hi, Premier. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
On education as well, just following up a little bit on what Kristen was just asking about, either for the Premier or the Minister. You mentioned last week, Premier, that you did not think that the TDSB was being unreasonable when it came to this whole discussion about, smaller class sizes versus instructional minutes, and really focused that frustration on the unions. But you were pretty clear during the summer about certainty of starting on time. Of course, it was September 8th. Now it's going to be the 15th, plus the stagger element. So this delay of the start of the year, a little bit to what Chris was asking about, are you frustrated by this? Is this acceptable to you? Or are you satisfied in whatever reasons you've gotten for the delay?
Well, we're facing some real challenging times, and it's challenging bringing back 2 million students, 160,000 teachers, and there's challenges there. And we want to be there. We want to support them. We've had endless meetings, as the minister was mentioning, but we want the best. We want the best for our children. We have the best plan in the country. We want the best for our children and the best for the educators. I'll pass it over to the minister.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, our obligation is to get this right. I think parents in the province, so like in government, we all just want to ensure we follow the public health advice and give the school boards those additional few days to get it right, to ensure a positive start in September. And our commitment, of course, is to do so following the highest medical protocol and the strongest medical protocol that exists in the country, supported by the Chief Medical Officer of Health. So if local health units are asking for additional days, and that's been supported, working with their school boards, the government is going to be a collaborative actor at the table to make sure they've got the right time to get it right. I know parents in the province just want their kids to return in a safe manner, and giving them an additional week is a prudent way forward to minimize any risks and just to maximize a positive start and a safe start for September.
Follow up.
Thank you. And Premier, on a non-education question, Alberta recently announced that it was expanding its pilot project where it was testing asymptomatic people in certain Shoppers Drug Mart locations to all of them by early next month. There was a few stores, now they're going really province-wide. Is this something Ontario would consider or has been considering, testing asymptomatic people in Shoppers Drug Mart locations?
We have. Actually, we've been discussing this for a little while now, and we've reached out to Shoppers Drug Mart, CEO of Loblaw that owns Shoppers as well. And they're being very cooperative, so I might as well just come out and say it. Gail and Weston, you've been very cooperative. He offered to help any way he can, and we appreciate it. That's, again, the Ontario spirit stepping up to the plate, and I just want to give Gail a shout out there.
Next question.
The next question comes from Randy Rath from Sage TV. Please go ahead.
Hi, Premier.
Hi. How you doing, Randy?
Good, thanks.
Good.
The situation in Caledonia has evolved in that the blockades have been taken down off of the streets and I believe the rail line, but the demonstrators are adamant that they are not going to leave the housing development that they're occupying. Do you think that ultimately to solve this, you're going to have to do what Dalton McGuinty did, which is buy the land for the housing development and give it to the demonstrators?
Well, I want to continue on with dialogue. As I mentioned, I had a great conversation here at Queen's Park with Chief Hill. I have a great deal of respect for the chief and what he's facing and his own challenges within his own community as well. But I'm confident that through dialogue, similar to when the barricades came down, we're going to continue on with the collaboration. And I always say, I'm a big supporter of, always have been from day one, for the Indigenous community right across this province. But we need the support, again, federal jurisdiction. We need the support of the feds to step in here and continue on their conversations with them as well.
Follow up.
Okay, the demonstrators are also calling for a moratorium on any development in the Haldeman Tract, which is 6 miles on either side of the Grand River from its source to its mouth. Should people be wary of investing in developments on this parcel of land?
Well, again, I just want to continue talking to the folks there that are involved and come up with a collaborative solution, because the other solution is not a good solution for either side. So let's just continue talking and collaborating and working with them as we have been.
Next question.
Next question comes from Tina Yazdani from City News. Please go ahead.
Hi, how you doing, Tina?
I'm good, thanks, Premier.
Good.
So, mid-August, we saw a promising trend. Ontario's daily case counts were dipping below 100 consistently, and then last week and so far this week, we're back above 100 again.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get your reaction and insights on this. What are you hearing from medical officers about why this is happening, and are you feeling confident about reopening schools with the current numbers?
Well, I'm very confident about reopening the schools. We have the safest and the most cautious plan when it comes to the schools, and I'm glad that some of the premiers are adopting some of our plans. That's a compliment. So not for us again. This is our health table that put this together. Regarding the numbers, I'm watching it like a hawk. So I'll just break it down. Today we had 105 numbers, 75 or close to 75%, 75 out of the 105 cases were amongst 3 cities. And not that they're doing anything wrong, but just want to tell the people, Ottawa, Toronto, and Peel Region. You take away those 3 regions, obviously a big population, the province and the people are doing great. We'd have 30 cases. So in these large urban areas, we just have to keep an eye on it. And it's not spread across these regions. It's in certain areas of these regions that we're really focusing on.
Follow up?
Okay, thank you for that. And my colleague, Faiza Amin, has been speaking with a family. Their son is living with autism. He's in a congregate care setting. They're desperate to bring him home for a weekend, bring some normalcy to his life. Lots of families are facing similar barriers and are wondering why the province isn't really focusing on reopening congregate care settings. Are there any plans to ease restrictions there?
Yeah, you know, something in the congregate care livings, we're so cautious. Maybe we're a little too paranoid, but I just don't want to see what happened at the one location out in Markham. That was really, really scary. And I understand their families are hurting. They want to see their loved ones. I fully understand that. But to bring them home and then bring them back again, that's tough on the system. It just opens us up for a lot of problems. I encourage people to go see your loved one at the congregate care living. But I understand. I can't, you know, none of us can imagine. I can't even imagine. I say I understand, but I can't imagine because I've never walked a mile in their shoes. And it's so tough on the families. It's heartbreaking that they're going through this. And this is one of the terrible, terrible things about COVID. And let's just keep focused and we'll get through this.
Okay, last question.
Last question comes from Laura Stone from the Globe and Mail. Please go ahead.
Hi, Laura.
Hi, Premier.
Hi.
I wanted to ask you about Aaron O'Toole's win last night as the new Conservative leader. He's had lots of support within your caucus, including your Deputy Premier. But you've also been very complimentary towards Prime Minister Trudeau and the Deputy Prime Minister, especially the Deputy Prime Minister, Chrystia Freeland. So I'm wondering if you are going to be campaigning for Mr. O'Toole and the federal Conservatives in the next federal election.
Well, first of all, I want to congratulate Aaron along with all the other candidates. They had a hard-fought campaign, and I understand how that happens. You're all over the place, not to mention they're right across the country. So congratulations to Aaron, and I just encourage everyone to rally around him. As for our relationship with the federal government, we have a phenomenal relationship. I think the world of the Deputy Prime Minister, we were able to get a lot accomplished just by communicating, collaborating, and along with the Prime Minister as well. And I'll work with anyone at the end of the day. And like I say, I don't care what political stripe you're from. If you get elected, I'll work with you. And I've been working extremely well with the federal government, Conservatives or NDP or whoever gets elected. I'll work with them at the end of the day. To answer your other question, no, I'm not getting involved in the federal campaign. I won't be campaigning for anyone, and like I didn't last time either. I am so swamped right here. I'm going literally around the clock every single day, and I can't take my eye off the ball for an election or anything else. So my main focus is Ontario. Will always be Ontario, and good luck to the feds, whoever's running, and good luck to you guys.
Follow up?
Why not, Premier? Why wouldn't you campaign for the federal Conservatives? You know, I'm sure there are many Conservatives who think that that you can help promote their ideals, especially in Ontario and the GTA, where you were excluded last time. So why wouldn't you work to move forward their agenda?
You know something? I'm going to take the high road here. I'm going to just work hard with Ontario. I wish them all the best. Federal Conservatives, I wish all the federal parties all the best. My main goal, my main focus is to stay here in Ontario, focus on Ontario, and again, getting our economy back up and running, make sure everyone's safe here. And I'm too busy to get involved in any election in the future, and I'm not going to either. So I wish everyone all the best and let the best person win.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.